What is happening, you guys? Welcome back to the Let's Go Win podcast, where we are here to help you be happy, healthy, wealthy, and get better every single day. Conversation today is absolutely going to fall in that health category. I am so excited for the conversation that Mark and I had, and it is just bountiful with information on biohacking and health and mindset and so many good things. This guy is so knowledgeable. It was incredible. Mark Young is a serial entrepreneur, author, and CEO of Rise Agency and Zona Health. Known for blending business strategy with heart-centered leadership, he helps scale purpose-driven brands and revolutionize cardiovascular wellness. As the author of Radical Generosity, Mark empowers leaders to redefine success through giving, not just gaining. His mission: create lasting impact through generosity, purpose, and vision. Well, Mark, it is so good to have you. I know you're out at your gathering. I guess we're not calling it a conference, but you're out at your gathering in Arizona. Thank you for taking the time, brother. Good to see you.
I appreciate it, buddy. Just reporting in live from a hotel room, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I know you mentioned that you're out there and we were talking off air about health and wellness. Is that one of the things that you're up to out in Phoenix right now?
Yeah. So the gathering, not the conference, the guy who runs it hates the word conference because in his words, when I was even talking with him last night, in his words, he says, people have such negative experiences at conferences that he deliberately does everything in his power to do the things that other conferences do badly and not do those things. And he said, but if I use the word conference, all of that limbic response comes flashing back to people. He's like, this is a meeting. This is a gathering. But yes, I'm out in Phoenix right now, and the meeting that I'm attending, it's 100 of the top health and wellness, I'll say founders, but CEOs, founders, executives of health and wellness, longevity brands. So it's people that are here like Dave Asprey, Cali Means, if you're familiar with Cali Means, Mark Hyman, they're all here. So we're here to spend the next 3 days together. So you're catching me pre-meeting. It starts this afternoon. So here on Phoenix time, it's still, It's 8:30 in the morning. So we were able to get this in without a problem. So yeah, I'm looking forward. The next few days are great. It's just time talking about longevity, talking about health, talking about business, entrepreneurship. And it's just a lot of people have experiences with mastermind groups that are, and I'll say that I've been to a lot of them, and a lot of times people feel like they're in the room and everybody's trying to hustle whatever it is they're trying to do. And it's like, this gathering is the exact opposite of that. It is, we always use the phrase in here that the currency of success is impact. So it's a group of industry leaders who are all getting together to figure out how can we have a greater impact on our world.
Yeah, no, I love it, brother. And it's interesting because there's so much in this health and wellness space. I would say, as you said, longevity, and Dave Asprey, for instance, pretty well known in that space, to where he's talked about 140, 150, 160 years old. But it's not just living longer, it's really functionally quality of life.
Yeah.
What have been some of the big things that you've seen that you're like, dude, this is huge. Like, I wish everybody knew about this, whether it be not a fad diet, maybe it is, I don't know, something that you're like, gosh, this is one of those pillars that I hope everybody jumps on board. Has there been one that really sticks out in your mind?
Oh, 100%. And it's not what you think. If there were anything that I would tell anybody who wants a life of longevity and quality, it's going to be your mindset. And it's not about which supplement's going to get you there. And it's not about which cold plunge or which sauna or which red light or all of that stuff is great. But I'll tell you what, having a negative outlook in life and having a belief system that says I can't versus a belief system that says I can. What was it, Henry Ford, that used the phrase, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're absolutely right.
Yes.
And for too many people, and I go off on this topic quite a bit, so maybe that's where I'm going today. this idea of negative mindset is it's a deal breaker for me. Like, I don't want negativity in my life. I don't want that. And part of the reason I say that, it's not a, clear out the chi kind of thing. I'm not trying to be all Eastern medicine with it. But what I am trying to say is that at a cellular level, I don't think people realize the amount of trauma and abuse that we deliver to our own bodies through our thoughts. Mm. And your body responds physiologically based on what's happening in the psychology. And we can get into a gut brain loop if we want. But the reality is that, and I'll give you an example. I was just a guest on Luke Story's podcast a few weeks ago, if you know Luke Story. And we got into this conversation and I was like, Luke, let me give you an example. Like, if I were to right now yell duck, Mike, you're going to immediately flinch. You're going to cower down a little bit. Your pupils are going to dilate. You're going to move into a sympathetic nervous system. You're going to release nitric oxide as a sympathetic fight or flight response into your body. Your cardiovascular system is going to dilate based on what I like. And I went through like this full list of things that physiologically are going to happen. And I went, that's the power of one word from me.
Wow.
How do you think your body is responding all day long to the things we tell it? We tell ourselves that 65 is a ripe old age. They begin to behave like 65 is a ripe old age. We tell ourselves that 65 is youthful. 65 is youthful. They start behaving in ways that you tell yourselves you're diabetic all the time. What do? Well, they start behaving like diabetic cells. Like, so the things that we say to ourselves and the way that we impact our own belief systems through the feedback we get from the people we surround ourselves by, to the environments we live in, I believe that has the greatest impact on longevity over any biohack that someone's going to talk about.
Brother, I love that answer. And the reason I love it is because we have 100% control over this, right? The idea, it's the idea that the generation before us, our parents' generation, that 65 was older because of that mindset, and the grandparents before them, same idea. I think this is so huge where it's like, yeah, if you think you're old, I promise you're going to be old. And like you said, that one word, like fight or flight, your nervous system's all jacked up, cortisol levels are going crazy. That stuff is wearing you down. I think this is huge. So let's talk about ways to really improve our mindset. And do you have a specific thing that you do to really lift yourself up, whether it be affirmations, a certain routine? What does that look like for you, brother? Or is it just, my philosophy is, I don't want negativity in my life. So if you're negative, thank you very much. There's a door. I'm going to go be with an aligned group of people. What does it look like for you?
I think it's a yes and. I don't think that it's a thing. I think it's many things. And do I show people the door if there's negativity? Yes. Sometimes we deal with it because we're, whether maybe we're related to it, or maybe we're still contractually obligated to it. But there are absolutely moments that you're going to deal with it because we can't escape it. Like, you're never going to just live in some Zen state 24 hours a day unless you're like the Dalai Lama or something. But the reality is there is a point in knowing when to reject it. I think most people, myself especially, have a tendency to spiral quickly. And that is, when negativity starts, negativity begets negativity. And in the same way, positivity begets positivity. And I think that there are things we can do. Recently, I mentioned to you, I actually published a new book called Radical Generosity. And in chapter 2 of Radical Generosity, one of the things that I discuss is the physiological impact that takes place when we give. And that is this idea that, when we get caught in this cycle, there is a physiological response that takes place. They call it often like the helper's high. That when we give to somebody, when we generously, and I don't mean money per se, but it can be money, it can be time, it can be wisdom and mentorship and just showing up in our relationships, going out to dinner with your wife and putting the phone away. Those things actually physiologically actually increase oxytocin release in the brain. And if you're familiar with oxytocin, it's the endorphin that is actually associated with love. It's the same thing that happens when you give somebody a hug, but not a quick hug, but an embrace, right? They say a 20-second hug is, completely rewires the brain in the moment. So, yeah, maybe sometimes you do just need a hug, right? When a person is grieving and they just need somebody to go up and give them a hug, and, it's not a nice pat on the head or something, but a genuine embrace. Or, if you get stuck in that place, like my big question is, okay, like life sucks for me right now in this moment. Like I'm not happy with where I am in this moment. And that can be a work situation, a staff member, a client, a whatever. Like I'm a business owner. I get that bad days happen. I get that cash flow stresses business owners out. I get it, like 100%. But often my response to it is, how can I go make someone else's life better right now? Because I have no acute solution for my problem. Because if I did, I would just fix it and move on. But if I'm frustrated and I can't see a way forward out of my situation, how can I go improve somebody else's life? And sometimes for me, JM, that is, I will text a friend that I haven't talked to in months and be like, hey, I just wanted to remind you how much I love you. Like, or call a relative who's not negative and just be like, hey, just thinking about you. Or send a text message to my grandmother that's just like, love you more. Sometimes it's, I will go online and just donate a random amount of money to a charity that I support, just in excess of what I normally would. Sometimes it's, I will just go, you get it. Like, I don't need to get into what I do. I don't want to make that about me. But the reality is it is literally a biohack, because I am causing a physiological reaction in my brain that rewires my thinking right now. Like, it's a bad day. What am I going to do? Well, like, I'll give you an example. Yesterday was a pretty shitty day, if I can be honest. Like, it just was a client issues from start to finish, and nothing that we had done wrong as a company, but it's like just clients, just full moon or something. And to top it off, I'm out here in Phoenix, but I was supposed to go out to dinner with a woman that, I'll say that it was kind of like a pseudo date, kind of, one-on-one dinner. And I'd planned a nice dinner. And, it was like, hey, I want to get to know you better. You're going to be here. I'm going to be here, whatever. And then she texts me to say that, she's not coming. And I'm like, wow, that sucked. That was a perfect ending to a shitty day. And, and I laughed because I'm like, how can I do something else? And another friend of mine is here. And I was like, hey, you're my stand-in date. And she's like, oh, cool. What are we doing? And she's a very happily married woman. Like, there's nothing goofy there. And I was like, well, you're my date for the night. And she's like, what do you mean? I said, I got nice dinner reservations. And she's like, cancel them. I'm like, no, I'm not canceling them. We're going to go do something goofy. And she's like, what do you mean? And I literally went to this place and, called them in advance and told them it was our 20th wedding anniversary. And they had a bottle of champagne at the table when we got there. And she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm biohacking. I am taking what should have been a ridiculous day, and I am adding levity and some, I always, I use the word quite often that I'm just adding, my muse to it, right? It's my whimsy. And she's cracking up laughing. And they brought us the bottle of champagne. And then we ran into other people we know. And the four of us did a champagne toast. And we had this nice dessert with a happy anniversary cake. And we, you know what? Completely changed the day. So what are the tactics? Figure it out for you. Like, figure it out. What are the things that you do? Some people, it's go running. Like, go to the gym. That's another one of my big hacks when I get stuck in my head. Like, if the office is stressful, you know what I'm going to do? I'm leaving. I'm going to the gym. I'm going to work out for an hour, because that is going to release endorphins in my brain also. And I'm going to get my dopamine hit. And it's my moment of pleasure that's going to shift my perspective. And then I'm ready to go again.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, and we talk about it often, because you're physiologically, you're creating this, just moving alone, right? Just
Yep.
getting out of that space, changing your environment for a second, Congrats on the book, by the way.
Thank
Radical
you.
Generosity. That's amazing. And we talk about, givers gain. That's a real thing. Like you said, the helper's high, or anytime you're giving, especially without expectation of any return,
Yeah.
you're just giving. There's something amazing about that. And great things typically come to those that do that. And not always, but you know what? It feels good. I'm curious, brother, was this something that you have learned later in life? Were you always kind of a happy, this mindset and being happy? Was this something that you've done, for a long time? Because I'm looking at it, CEO of Rise Agency and Zona Health and writing books. Like, you've done some stuff, man, but it
Few
was
things.
like, when did this happen to where you're like, you know what? Mindset's so important and biohacking is so important. Did the success come first and then you're like, oh, I'm getting burned the heck out while I'm crushing business? Or did you have this early on where you're like, yeah, man, I'm totally into working out and meditation and mindset? What did that look like for you?
Um, I appreciate the flattery of you thinking that I've arrived, because I don't feel that way whatsoever. And I don't think any ambitious person, particularly entrepreneurs, ever feel like they've made it, because they always see what's over the next hill. But I'm going to tell you that's part of, I think, every business owner, every entrepreneur, every driven individual. I believe that is a mindset that is constantly in evolution. And I'm very cognizant of the fact that the me that you're meeting today was not the me from 2 years ago. It was not the me from 10 years ago. And it won't be the me 2 years or 10 years from now, because I believe that we are on that journey. And my mindset has shifted very much. I will tell you, even being out at this conference as an example, I was talking with my dad the other day, who's very similar mindset to me. And what's interesting is, I never was a person, I was always brought up in a good Italian work ethic, immigrant mindset where you work your ass off, and that's how you succeed. So I was very, very much throughout my career, heads down, grind it out kind of situation. And for people who attended gatherings or conferences or whatever, and went to networking events and so on and so forth, to me, that was just it was such a waste of time. To me, that was like, you're just there trying to hustle. And I hate that. That just feels gross. Like, so a version of me began a few years ago when I just started showing up in the room and things changed. And it was like, wow, like I'm surrounded by like-minded people. Maybe there's something to this. And so now I literally don't miss an opportunity to be somewhere. If the opportunity presents itself, I go out of my way. In fact, I'm changing my airline ticket. I fly out of here on Saturday morning and I'm going to Orlando. And coincidentally, the COO at MAHA, which is the Make America Healthy Again movement, texted me this morning and said, hey, I don't know what you're doing this coming weekend, but I have a gala to attend in Orlando if you'd like to be there. And I'm like, well, funny, I'm flying into Orlando on Saturday. And I told you I live in Fort Lauderdale. So that was like a total, like, what are the odds that I happen to be flying to Orlando? I'm like, I'm going to change my flight and show up earlier because yes, and what's my reasoning? I just want to be in the rooms. So that version of me has changed. And now I've realized the value of being in the room. So I've realized over the last few years, the value of having positive, reinforcement. And there's an entire discipline called psychoneuroimmunology. And it's a path I'm on right now, right? Like it happens to be the latest evolution of me, that is dealing with my cells as if I'm speaking to them, as opposed to, taking them for granted. And I believe, and part of that actually started years ago. I don't know if you know who Vishen Lakhiani is.
I know the name.
He's
Yeah.
Mind Valley.
Yes.
He's the owner of Mind Valley. So I've known Vishen for years. Was just with him Saturday night, in fact. But if you're familiar with Silva meditation, I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but he actually did a whole deal on that on Mind Valley. And it's the idea of being able to just meditate into a space where your brain is functioning at a level different just through breath work, through meditation, through mindful practices. And it really has put me in a place where I'm like, wow, like I literally will get sometimes, and I wish I were better at this. So please, nobody listening to this get the impression that I've got it figured out. But I remember at points where I was just not sure what to do with something, or I was sick to my stomach or whatever. And I'm like, I'm gonna try, meditation on this. And it's like, got myself into state and so on and so forth, and literally started speaking to my own cells. I'm like, you know what, immune system, I need you to do your job right now. I need you to focus on this particular area. I need all troops moving in the direction of whatever. And it's phenomenal because I've literally just watched my body take response to what I told it to do. Like, I need everybody to move in this direction. I chuckle because a couple of weeks ago, and this is just whatever in biohacking and whatnot, I'm going to be real weird here. The day before Easter, I was up in Michigan visiting my family, and I was helping prepare stuff for dinner. And I was chopping and chopped off the entire tip of my finger that I ended up in the ER because I chopped off the top of my finger. You can see my hand right now. It's back. Like, you can't even see it. Like, because it's just grown back and healed to the point that it's not even visibly noticeable anymore in 2 weeks. I'm like, that's crazy. And it's like, I think we can move ourselves in a state that what we do with our brains controls our bodies. That's my point.
Yeah, no, it's the mind body connection. You mentioned gut brain connection. I mean, look, some people are like, this is woo woo. No, it's not. Like your example with the finger, incredible example. I was listening to a Shaolin monk the other day talk about some of the feats that he doesn't call them feats, but I call them feats. Some of the things he's been able to do that it doesn't make sense. The human body cannot do the things that they do through training, through truly being intentional. And I think it's a huge point that you're bringing up, Mark. And, if we truly are, meditation is a huge part of my life. I do it every single day, as people know. But even being more intentional about, like you said, I want to repair my finger. I want my body to be more healthy. I want whatever the thing is. If your brain is extremely powerful. The question I had, though, and we can continue down that path. You mentioned Maha, and this is probably a subject that I talk about in terms of not that word, no, make America healthy again. I don't say that per se, but we talk about food. I'm guessing I'm talking about that 3, 4, 5 times a week. How our food in this country is just not on the level that it was. I was just in DR last week having papaya, and it just tasted different and better and more pure. I don't know, brother. What are your thoughts on this? Because it's a big subject. I know that there's a major overhaul that needs to take place. Are you feeling hopeful and in what you're seeing, or what do you think?
So yes. So I just interviewed Del Bigtree on my podcast 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Great guy. I've been a Del fan for a long time, so I'm going to be honest and tell you I kind of fanboyed in having him on because I just have so much respect for what he's doing, and he's really picked up the reins when Bobby Kennedy went into the HHS. And I don't even know if you know that story, just the Maha story, was when Bobby Kennedy withdrew his presidential campaign and then partnered with Trump. During that speech where he and Trump shared the stage for the first time, Bobby didn't have a speech prepared. He just was like, I'm just going to go say what's on my heart. And he ended up concluding with his endorsement for President Trump. And his endorsement was, don't you want a president who wants to make America healthy again?
That's how it came out?
That's how Maha happened.
Wow.
And literally his entire team that day, the minute he said that, started buying URLs and putting in trademark and patent, applications. Like, they went to town because they're like, that's a thing. And And, politics aside, MAHA is an apolitical organization. And obviously, Bobby partnered with Trump, and now Bobby is the secretary of HHS. But with Dell getting involved, it's like Bobby and Dell are both lifetime Democrats. Like, who now we're like, wait, this isn't a problem for Democrats, and it's not a problem for Republicans. Like, this is a problem for Americans. And through processed foods, through soil depletion, through the length of time that things are on shelves, to the glyphosate issues that we have in the world, in America, I should say specifically, to the colored food dyes, to the fluoride in our drinking water. Like, truthfully, it's like listening to the statistics, it is pandemic level problems. And it is shocking that it is in any way controversial. Like, I can't understand anybody arguing about it. Like, that's how obvious it is to me. Like, we're talking about getting processed foods out of school lunch programs, and we're fighting about it. Like,
Right.
Why? Like, why is it not okay to feed kids meat and eggs? Because the eggs that we're going to use in a school lunch program have to be processed and boxed and pasteurized and 4,000 other processes, and then we serve them in a milk carton. And it's like, can't we just use eggs? Isn't it okay to just use eggs? And it's a problem. It's an absolute problem. And we know there's a rise in ADD and ADHD in children, rises in autism, rises in all of these different things. That what is the number right now? That 80% of Americans are overweight or obese. 20% of all Americans are using some GLP-1, which is the tirzepatides, the semaglutides, the Ozempics. Like, they're all on some kind of GLP-1 agonist. We're dealing with chronic illness. I forget what the number was, but it was like 60 to 70% of every American is dealing with some form of chronic illness. The average American takes 3.5 prescriptions a day. And the thing is, I'm like, I take 0. So someone's taking 7, right, which blows my mind. The 45% of all US adults are diagnosed with hypertension. Like, it absolutely blows my mind when we walk through these types of statistics and then argue about it. It's like, guys, I get that we're here. Like, I'm not trying to assign blame to anybody, but we're here, but we're here together. And kids are not Republicans. Kids are not Democrats. Like, kids are kids, and they are eating garbage. And that garbage getting to that mind gut connection is literally populating their microbiome and killing it in some ways, but also putting things in their microbiome that are craving things that are causing issues. I just listened to a speech by Stephen Gundry, and Gundry's new book, if you know Steve, his new book actually has this whole connection about addiction, and how addiction is not a psychological issue. This is nothing. It is literally that people's gut biomes have been populated with bacteria that craves substances. And that's why people drink, or that's why people do drugs. It's like, because their gut is telling their brain they need it. And multiple studies have showed that recalibrating gut biomes, and they've like carpet bombed the biome with antibiotics and stuff, and it's like, and the addiction wanes. Like, but you just notice these types of things. It's like, man, like, what we're putting into our bodies is one of two things, right? It's either information for the body to be able to heal and regenerate, or it's inflammation, which is literally the cell's reaction to intruders. Pick. Just choose. Which one do you want?
Yeah, I think this is so fascinating, because you're at a gathering of people that are on the biohacking and definitely taking care of themselves. And then we talk about, let's just say, the most of America that doesn't really dive down that hole. Okay. Yeah. They go into a grocery store, and look, we all know the middle aisles processed, ultra processed, like just there's so many names, like cereal. What it is today is not what it was 20 years ago, 30. I mean, it's crazy, all the stuff in there. My question or my point, and this is where you brought up Gundry, who is, very plant-based. That's more his style. But I even think about going around the supermarket, even on the edge of the store, whether it be fruits or veggies. Well, unfortunately, a lot of these are absolutely caked and layered with, herbicide and chemicals. And so for our average people out there that aren't at the gathering you're at, or aren't really, they're not trying to be, overweight. And this is where I'm hoping Maha, or Make America Healthy Again, I'm hoping that they can say enough is enough, guys. Like, we are literally killing our population. And not to go down a gravel, there's one area that's really doing well, and that would be the pharmaceutical companies that get to throw the Ozempics at them or throw a pill at it. And it's just so damn frustrating, Mark, to sit there and go, these people aren't trying to eat shit. They're not trying to, but they're cooking on, the Teflon and stuff that's really upsetting it all.
You only know
it's
what you
just,
know.
Yeah, it's just so crazy to me, bro.
Funny you mentioned the grocery stores. I'll say two things to that. The first one is I laughed because I'd seen it in social media, I'm pretty sure, but somebody had made a comment about, if there's an aisle in your grocery store that says health food, what does that make the rest of it?
Jeez.
And I was like, ouch.
So
and
true.
You go down the health food aisle in a grocery store, and what is it? It's all processed garbage protein bars. Like, it's not health at all. And so the next point I was going to make is I just spoke at a lecture of top executives at Kroger grocery store. And the entire talk was about the need for supplementation because we don't get what we need nutritionally out of food. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, so I'm speaking to the executive team at Kroger grocery stores, which is one of the largest grocers. They have 2,600 locations nationwide, telling them about how food isn't fixing the problem. Like, that's an intimidating crowd. And it was shocking to me at the end of a QA, because I broke down the supplements that I take on a daily basis. And I'm like, well, these are the supplements I take because of nutritional gaps. And that could be because I just don't eat what I should. That could be because we're missing the vitamins and minerals that we need, which we can get into a whole conversation about farming. But like, we're missing stuff here. I take these for longevity. I take these for optimization, and I take these for detoxification and antioxidation. Like, these are the categories. These are what I do. Like, and I'm doing all this kind of stuff. And to see the questions during the Q&A, I'm like, my God, like, you're the people responsible for getting the food to our population. And I look like a health expert in the room. And I'm like, I own an advertising agency. Like, my business is marketing. Now, granted, I work 80% of my clients are all in the health and wellness space. So, I mean, but nevertheless, like, I feel like an amateur in a lot of rooms. And they are mesmerized by the amount of things. And I'm like, but guys, like, what's going on that you don't know this? Like, you don't know about pesticides that are all over our foods? Like, we've got this pandemic of everybody and their brother is gluten intolerant nowadays, right? It's like, arguably, nobody's gluten intolerant, because how many stories do you hear about people who go and they eat bread while they're on vacation in Italy and don't have any problems?
Oh.
Like, no one has a problem when they're on vacation in Italy. They eat all the bread they want and don't gain weight. Why are they doing it here? Well, because we're spraying all of our crops with pesticides and stuff. It's like, but now we're calling everybody gluten intolerant. It's like, but maybe gluten's not the problem. Maybe glyphosate's the problem, which, for people who don't know what glyphosate is, it's net in effect Roundup. Like, we're all familiar with Roundup, pesticide and weed killers and stuff. Well, we're spraying it to try to make the crop healthier, but we're killing the people with it. Mm-hmm. Like, and the truth of the matter is most people don't understand what chelation is. And chelation is the only thing that's going to remove that from your system. The problem is it only removes it through your system. And the only thing, one of the strongest chelation products out there is actually using fulvic and humic acid mineral supplements. But the problem is you're not getting the minerals out of your food because we've depleted the soil so badly. It's like this problem just keeps going around in circles because there's no way to interrupt it. There are ways to interrupt it, I should say, but there's nothing in place right now to interrupt the cycle. And I think for most people, it's like living in the matrix, right? Like you take the red pill, and when you start seeing what's going on, it just, your head could explode, because then you can't walk into a 7-Eleven without feeling like the entire every aisle is trying to attack you.
Yeah, brother. And, some of my listeners may or may not know this. My dad worked for Monsanto for 35 years. I used to play on those Roundup for, like, think of the barrels in my garage, played on it as a kid. I am one of those gluten intolerant people that can go to Italy and have something be fine versus here. And the timing is just so fascinating. I'm going literally to, I'll call her a functional medicine doctor today, specific to my gut biome, because I knew you were gonna, National Wellness Center.
Oh, I was gonna say Jonathan Fields. He's actually my functional doc, and he's in Boca.
Oh, is he? Well, at the end of the day, I think when it comes to this knowledge, I personally have educated myself, and I go to these gatherings like you do, and I know a lot about, and I'm still challenged with it, I guess is my point. And that's what I think is so frustrating for folks, that it's like, gosh, man, they're not spending these hours trying to do it. So I guess the long-winded point, because we could go on and on this, is I'm glad that there is a Maha thing that is moving. And I hope to God that we can say, look, guys, these preservatives are killing people. There's a reason America is so fat, and it's not just fast food. It's all the stuff in the grocery stores, and some of it's even the vegetables that are supposed to be healthy. And to do an audit in your house, that's something we've done recently, is to look, we were using plastic for our, for our spatulas, and now all that's down to wood. But, these are things that were just kind of conditioned and normal. And now you're like, wait a minute. Yeah, I'm eating plastic. And it's simple stuff like the coffee pods. Think how bad that is, doing hot coffee there. And I have them. They're sitting in my kitchen.
Same.
And brother, it's just wild.
Same. Like, and it's the stuff that at some point, I suppose what I would love to say is to you, to me, and to anybody listening is we'll never get everything perfect. Right. Like I live in a high rise downtown Fort Lauderdale. I'm not getting away from EMF. Right. Like I'm not getting away from it. Everybody's got a Wi-Fi signal running all over the place. And I live downtown. Like, unless I go buy a farm and live out in the middle of podunk nowhere and, turn my Wi-Fi off every night, like I'm not getting out of it. Or maybe I could sleep in a Faraday bag or something every night. But the reality is you're not going to get it perfect. And it's one thing at a time. It's baby steps, right? It's the back to the whole conversation about what do you do when you get in a bad place? Do the next right thing. Like not everything has to be perfect, but everything needs to have progress. And, if your awareness is, I need to get rid of the Teflon pans, great. One of mine recent ones, and this is going to sound absolutely crazy, was I love ice. And I drink a lot of iced tea. Well, I live downtown Fort Lauderdale, and I realized that it doesn't matter how filtered my water was. I was getting the ice out of my freezer. Like, so the freezer is got an ice maker, and I'm like, man, I didn't even think about this. But at the same time, I've done a minerals test and had, an overage of certain minerals and whatnot. I'm like, man, like I'm causing myself my own toxicity because I'm not paying attention to this. I just had 2 amalgams removed where I had mercury fillings in my mouth for 30 years. And suddenly I'm like, what the hell? Like So what do I, nope, got to go find a biological dentist that can take the fillings out of my mouth. And I'm like, does it ever end? And my encouragement to people was, it doesn't. It just keeps getting better.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to be perfect at your supplementation, because as soon as you are, your body changes, right? It's a process. Like, you're never going to not drink water out of a plastic bottle. Like, you're going to do that. But it's, sure, well, now what do I do? Well, I filter all of my water, and then I pour the filtered water into an ice maker I bought. Well, that's great. Want to know what the ice maker's made of?
Plastic.
It's made out of plastic. So I'm pouring filtered water into a plastic ice maker, and I'm like, well, it's progress. It's better than unfiltered water coming from the freezer. So my encouragement to anybody is, like, we can spend days talking about the problem because we didn't cause it. Right? Like, we've been born into a world where a lot of this stuff is happening. And the truth is it's a much better world than, had we been born into it 500 years ago. Maybe the food would have been better back then, but we'd also been dead by 30. But the reality is like, we live in a world that requires us to pay more attention to some things. American lifespans are actually decreasing on average as the rest of the world is increasing, which is a weird statistic when you think about the breakthroughs in science and technology. I was just at a meeting a couple of weeks ago and interviewed a guy on my podcast. Pardon me. And he's creating a documentary called Your Second 50. And it's talking about people who are in the next 50 years of their lives. And I'm turning 50 in less than 2 months now, which I can't wrap my head around, by the way. But turning 50 few weeks from now, and I'm like, wow, that just seems like a big stretch. But I laughed because he's just like, oh, whatever. And we got chatting. I was like, I'm going to introduce you to my dad. Like, he probably is a great person for you to talk to about this, because he's 68, just set a Guinness record in race car driving and all this else. Because 68, my dad functions the same way he did 30 years ago. And and he's just like, oh, well, I was going to include you. And I kind of laughed, and I was like, oh, no, I'll wait for your third 50. And it took him a second. Then he started laughing. I was like, so look me up in 50 years. Like, I'll be on your next one. And he's like 80 years old or something, doing this documentary about life in your second 50. And I'm like, mindset, buddy. It cost me nothing to believe that.
Yes. I love, as we're doing, I love what you said. Not everything needs to be perfect. It needs progress. I mean, what a great title for this podcast. So I love that. I'm looking at the time. This has flown by. I haven't asked you anything about your business or anything like that. But you know what? You're just a fascinating dude. I'm just going to go open forum, Mark. What didn't I know enough to ask you that you want to make sure that we share with the audience? It's the world's your oyster, brother. Whatever you want to say, it's totally good, because I appreciate so much of what you brought up. You brought up a lot of things I'm passionate about when it comes to health and it comes to longevity. These are things I don't get to talk about as much. So I'm just so grateful for that. But, just open forum, brother. What didn't I know enough to ask you?
Yeah. And I'm going to say that when I'm a guest on a podcast, I'm here to serve you, not talk about me. So if anybody wants to know anything about me, they can just go to themarkyoung.com. You can find everything you need to know if somebody wants to get to know me. But I think more so than that, Jam, I think the conversation for us is it's more about how can we feed into the lives of other people. And I don't think that comes because they know more about me, or more about you for that matter. I think I love podcasts when it is just open dialogue about topics where the listener just may pick something up or learn something or get inspired by something. And hopefully that's happened today. Like, hopefully someone walks away and if nothing else is like, man, you're right. Like, I need to just go do something nice. Like, that's radical generosity, right? Like, how do we just show up in the world with a mindset of abundance rather than a mindset of scarcity? And I think if we all showed up with the belief system that things could be better and that there's an infinite number of ways that life can improve, I think we're all better for it.
Yeah. No, it's well said, brother. And I'm definitely looking forward to checking out Radical Generosity. Yeah, I believe in it. I truly believe, you come here and you make the world a better place, or at least that's certainly the hope, and that we impact, as you said at the gathering, it's all about impact. Are we impacting lives in a positive way? So 100%, brother. Guys, go check Mark out. He's an awesome dude. Check out the book. And yeah, brother, just have an amazing time at the gathering. I can't wait to hear from you, because I am all about the cold plunge, and I'm all about the sauna and all the biohacking. I love doing it because I do want to be into that third 50, as you mentioned. That's 100% a goal of mine with a quality of life. So anyway, brother, I just appreciate you showing up and just giving so much to the audience. It was an incredible conversation.
Well, I appreciate the invite, man. Stay in touch.
Yeah, you as well. Wow. As I said in the intro, I knew this was going to deliver. It was just such an amazing conversation. I mean, his conversation from the mindset, and when he said this is quite literally the most important thing you can do in biohacking is really mindset. I mean, it just spoke volumes. The work with Maha, make America healthy again, and the whole talk on food. I could have done that for literally, we could have gone on for days and days. I just really enjoyed the conversation. I hope you did the same. And remember, for you, whether it's working on your health or your wealth or your happiness, that's what Let's Go Win community is all about. And that's what the self community is all about. So if you haven't got a chance to check out what we're doing at the self community, please do go to letsgowin.com. Take a look, take the quiz, see if there's an area that you want to upgrade, because this community is incredible. You have people celebrating, you have people holding you accountable, you have people pushing you and challenging you. It is remarkable, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it. So please share this along with somebody, whether it's just to hear Mark talk, the Let's Go Win podcast, or just be a part of the self community altogether. And until next time, remember, your mindset matters. I appreciate you all.